Hello everyone, this is Douglas Malloch, and today we are going to do Unit 3 of the first year English book approved by KPK TextBoard. And the name of this unit is Good Timber. It's a poem by Douglas Malloch. In my previous video, you must have listened to the poem for correct pronunciation and the rhyme scheme. Today we are going to talk about the main idea, the stanza-wise analysis, and also about the main themes and literary devices discussed in the poem. First, let us talk about the writer a little bit. So it's Douglas Malloch. He's an American poet. He was born in 1877 and died in 1938, and he is also known as a lumberman's poet. Lumbermen are the tree cutters. They usually cut the tree and they take the timber to the lumber workshops where it is turned into boards, etc. So Douglas Malloch, known as a lumberman's poet, compares good men to good timber in this famous metaphorical poem. It means that there is a metaphor used here. Metaphor is a comparison between two things, and in the whole poem there's a comparison, continuous comparison between good trees which make good timber and good men who actually lead their nations or their community ahead. Malloch lived in Michigan, where he grew up amongst logging camps and lumber yards. He wrote his first published poem when he was still a boy. It was published in the Detroit News. So he started very early on as far as poetry is concerned, and he is very famous for his poems. He has mostly talked about nature and how nature is reflected through man and how man can learn from nature and, improve his character. Now, the main idea, every piece of writing, whether it's a poem, a play, or an essay, a story, has a main idea around which it revolves. So in good timber, stands for the wood that is cut down and then it is used to make different things, for example, furniture and used in buildings, etc. In good timber, Malloch explores themes of struggle, fulfillment, and nature. So it's about a continuous struggle that a tree has to go through in order to become good for timber, a quality wood that can be used in different things. The message of this poem is that people, like trees, grow and reach their true potential by overcoming adversity. Adversity means difficult, hardship, difficulties or hardship. It is only through struggles like broken branches and storms will become good timber. This theme is common within Malloch's work. He was often concerned with depicting different ways life can be lived and how the most fulfilling lives can be. So he's talking about nature and how this is not an easy task. I mean, living a difficult life is something that is not anybody's or everybody's cup of tea. So adversity is hardship, adversity is difficulties that you face in life, and obviously it leaves a lasting effect on you. Even the trees who struggle, they have these signs on them in the shape of broken branches, and because they face the storms, they also have scars on them. But through this process of continuous hardship and adversity, the trees become good timber, which is of great value. Same happens with men also. Men who lead an easy life, they usually do not become men of any worth. They are ordinary, they are average. But the men who face adversity, who face challenges of life, who go through hardship in their life, all these challenges polish that person into something who is worthwhile and who is an extraordinary person. These are the people who usually becomes leaders in their fields, or they go to the top of their field. They grow to their full potential. So now, if you have listened to the previous video that I shared, you must be familiar with how the poem sounds, but now we are going to analyze it stanza-wise. So the first stanza is: the tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but stood out in the open plain and always got its shares of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. Scrubby means ordinary, not noteworthy, something that you can easily forget, something that you can easily ignore, something which is not important or worthwhile. So in the first stanza, the poet describes a certain type of tree and the life it lived. So in this stanza, the tree is used as an extended metaphor. Extended metaphor means that this metaphor is not just limited to this stanza. It is going to go through the poem till the end. And every stanza, this metaphor is going to be repeated. Some quality of a tree is going to be compared with a certain quality of a good man. And a comparison will go throughout the poem. So the tree is an extended metaphor that Malloch used to represent human beings and the different lives they lead. So obviously there are two kinds of trees. Similarly, there are two kinds of people. He speaks first of the tree that never had to fight. So he is talking about the tree that got everything very easily. He never had to fight for the sunlight. He never had to fight for the sky. He never had to fight for air or light to grow, because he was never crowded. He was standing in an open plain without any competition, without any hardship, without any prospects of fighting for what he wanted in his life. In the next line, he describes how the tree, or a person who lives an easy life, does not worry about resources. They have all the food, water, air, light they need to survive. The tree does not have to fight for what it has. The last two lines, the speaker reveals the outcome of such a life. So obviously he is not all appreciative about it. He doesn't like this kind of life. He believes that people usually wish for an easy life, but they don't realize that this easy life is actually not a blessing. It's something that makes them into a very ordinary, scrubby things. It does not develop them fully. It does not take them to the height of excellence. So this kind of tree would never become a forest king. So he realizes that the tree that has everything very easily is never going to grow to its full potential. Or one of the largest, strongest trees in the forest, it will live and die a scrubby thing. Scrubby is very ordinary, not good for timber. So he might have an easy life, but as far as the value is concerned, that tree would not be of great value. In stanza 2, the metaphor is going to continue. That is why it is called an extended metaphor. Extended means that it is not limited to one stanza. It is going to extend to the next and to the next and to the last stanza also. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. So now the comparison shifts to a human being. So similarly, in the next stanza, the poet compares the tree to the man who never became a manly man. So the tree became a scrubby thing, and a man who did not have to fight for anything in his life. He never became a manly man. This person lived a similar life. He never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, so he never had to do anything. Toil means work on your soil to grow something, and growing something from the land takes a lot of hard work. You need to till the soil, you need to put the seed in, you have to continuously water it, and that patch of little soil takes a lot of effort. But the thing is that the fruit that comes out of it is worth it. Just like the tree was given all the essentials of life it needed, so too was this man given his share without any effort. So maybe the poet is hinting towards people who are born rich, who are born in luxury, and who are born in comfort, and they never have to fight for anything. So this kind of luxurious, easy life makes them lazy and sluggish. So they don't know how to fight for what they want. The last two lines said the comparison between the man and the tree. He lived and died as he began. So you can go to the first stanza and look at the last line, that the tree is going to be a scrubby thing. So similarly, this man who lived in a luxury, had a luxurious life, he is going to live and die as he began, without development. His position socially, morally, and economically did not improve because his easy life made him lazy and sluggish. So now we move to stanza 3. You need to remember that the metaphor is going to continue. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger trees, the further sky, the greater length, the more the storm, the more the strength. By sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men, good timbers grow. So finally, in the third stanza, he's combining the two elements together, the two objects together that he's trying to compare. The trees and men, they come together in this stanza. So in the third stanza, he describes what makes good and strong timber. So it is not easy. It's not something that comes readily to people. It's not that comes to people easily. A tree that is going to live a long and successful life does not grow with ease. So in the very first line, he's saying that even if you want to reach your full potential, you need to remember that it is not an easy path. And you need to face stronger winds. So again, the whole stanza is filled with metaphors. Strong wind stands for hardships. Similarly, further sky means that you have to go further in your life. It's a long journey, and the longer you go, the more powerful you become, the stronger you become. The more the storm, the more the strength. It also means that the more your storm is The stronger the wind and the further the sky throughout its life than the scrubby tree never had. It also lives through more storms and indefinite sun, cold, rain, and snow. So he had to face all the elements of nature. Sometimes it was snowing, sometimes it was cold, rain, sometimes it was a very blazing sunlight. And he has to weather all these elements of nature in order to become strong and sturdy. So without facing them, he cannot become strong. And in the final lines, he joins together the tree of good timber with a manly man. So the same forces create both types of life. So in the third stanza, he finally brings the two objects that he's trying to compare in one line by saying that in trees and men, good timbers grow. So the same process happens in the human life also. The more challenges you face, the stronger you become. The higher your aim is, the more improved your personality is. The more adversity you face in the type of storms, etc., the more strong you get. And by sun, cold, rain, and snow, the poet is actually denoting to different uh, mm, challenges that you face in life. Sometimes it's sunny, means that it's good. Sometimes it's cold, so you are not comfortable. Sometimes it's rainy. Sometimes it snows. So the life has different challenges throughout. So it's not that sometimes you can feel that, okay, now it's done, so I'm finished and it's not going to go any further. But then the next day you have new challenges, and a person who goes through these challenges, he is the one who is successful. The last stanza: where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarch of both, and they hold counsel with the stars, whose broken branches show the scars of many winds and much of strife. This is the common law of life. So this is the conclusion. The last line tells you what the whole poem is about. And he also tells you that whatever challenges you face in life, it is worthwhile. It is going to help you at the end. So he's saying in the last stanza, the poet describes the environment of good man and good timber. Both are in the thickest part of the forest. This contrasts the tree of the first stanza. It is growing in an open, whereas a strong men and strong trees are in shade and far from the sun. So the tree in the open, first, when you look at the stanza number one, you feel that maybe, it's good to be out in the plain and having all the sun and water to yourself. But then he compares it to a tree who is living in the thickest part of the forest, and he has to fight for everything. You need to understand that when the tree was small, it was a small tree, he had to fight for sunlight. He had to fight for its share of air. It had to fight for its share of space, because there are bigger trees surrounding him, and what the bigger tree do is they take away your share of sunlight and your share of air. So that little tree in the midst of thickest forest had to fight for everything that he wanted in his life. Same happens for good men also. They are also surrounded by giants, very strong men, very accomplished men. And in the middle of that, they have to prove themselves, their mettle, their caliber, their potential. They have to prove it every day. But what this does to them is that it makes both the tree and the man the strongest of their lot. So they both can be called the patriarchs. Patriarchs are the leaders. These are the forefathers. This is where, a new class actually starts. They are the leaders of their own species. So they are the patriarch or leaders of their class. Due to their hard work and diligence, they are able to hold counsel with the stars. It does not mean that they touch actually the stars. Again, a metaphor is used, which means that they tap into the deeper knowledge of the universal forces that others cannot understand. The struggle, the challenges give them a deeper knowledge of how the universe is moving and how they have to survive in it. In the opposite, if an ordinary person who has never faced any challenges in his life, if he has to face a challenge, he fails because he's not ready for it. He has not learned anything. But these men are so prepared for their life, full of challenges, that when the challenges actually come towards them, they learn something from it and they are in control. And the tree and the man share broken branches, scars that stand for the hardship they both had to face. The strife of their lives has become the common law, a life for others to follow. So they become an example for others, and it is not easy. They are covered with scars, they are covered with wounds, they are covered with broken branches, which show that this life is not for everyone, and it is not an easy life. So anybody who chooses this kind of life must be prepared for the hardships that it brings with it. But the end result is also very rewarding, that both the tree and the man, they end up being the masters and the leaders of their species. They are the one that people are going to remember. They are the extraordinary ones. Thank you.